Where you going, listener? If you live down here, you'd be home by now. Come join the pod, listener. Haven't seen it? You'll float down here. Follow them on Apple and Spotify. Give them 5-star reviews, and you'll float down here. Yes, we do. It's coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that person is myself. I have not seen it. Well, now I have.
Oh, now you have. But this was the highest grossing September release of all time, the third highest grossing R-rated film of all time, and the highest grossing horror film of all time. And it came out 5 years ago. So where were you 5 years ago that you never saw this movie?
Doing anything else with my time, to be frankly honest with you.
You saw the Stephen King clown and you're like, fuck it, I don't care about that. Tim Curry all the way.
Well, like I remember, no, I've never even seen the Tim Curry one. I think it's been mentioned on this podcast before, and I'm already just horrified to get through the slump buster that is October, when Tommy's just like, we're doing this horror movie and this horror movie and this horror
I
movie,
can't wait.
and I'm gonna be like, oh no.
I'll make it somewhat watchable for you.
No, I know you will. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm frankly, after watching it, I'm surprised it grossed that much money. Like I didn't think it was that good. Was it
Damn.
because the Stranger Kids thing was in it? Like, were people just like, yeah, I'm really clamoring more of that Stranger Things?
So Stranger Things was what, like a year before this movie came out? Like that was when season 1 happened.
Yeah, and season two was probably right around then too, like right before or after that. All right, that
Yes.
came out a year later.
So it's like right in that window where like Stranger Things is really big, the kids coming out, and this is kind of a very similar Spielbergian take on a very famous Stephen King novel. That honestly, the miniseries, and we'll get into it. So I just think people were just ready for Pennywise, and the trailer was sold it perfectly.
Yeah, I remember the trailer being really good for it, but we'll get into it more. But first of all, Tommy, how was the movie that we saw in theaters yesterday? What was that little? It's a small indie film. You probably never heard of it before.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. It's called Jaws. So we saw an IMAX, and it was incredible. It really, like, obviously Timmy and I've seen this movie multiple times, and unfortunately we won't be covering on the pod because we think it might be impossible to find someone that's never seen Jaws before. If you do, come slide in our DM so we can get an episode on Jaws. Then it was amazing. Like, seeing an IMAX added a new dimension to this movie I've seen multiple times, like hundreds of times practically. And this is like my fourth time seeing it on the big screen, first time ever in IMAX. And it just added like a new dimension of sound to it, where like you hear the ocean behind you and all this other stuff. It was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I think it also hurts this movie that I watched Jaws and then I watched it, and it's not even a remotely fair comparison of these two movies. Like, not even remotely close.
No. So Jaws, I mean, like, you watched Jaws before, whereas I watched Jaws after watching it. So I mean, that probably helped me to this watch.
I mean, just like experiencing a movie like that, like just all the little details that are kind of hard to make out on TV, just the way you'd normally watch Jaws, like being in the theater with the sound like erupting around you in your seat. Like I was locked in the entire time. It
It,
was just, it's such a good movie, man. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah, it hits so much better. I mean, like with IMAX, where you literally hear like the sounds of the ocean coming in behind you, and you're like, oh my god, like it's like you're practically almost in the ocean in some way. So really great screening right there. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you get the chance, if it's playing at your local IMAX, definitely go see Jaws in theaters.
I think it was a only weekend thing, so you might have missed it.
Yeah, I could see them bringing it back.
Yeah, it's Jaws. Come on.
It's Jaws. You can play it again. Now on to a more miserable movie. This
Oh,
is it.
When you're a kid, you think the universe revolves around you, that you'll always be protected and cared for. Then, one day, you realize that's not true.
The summer of 1989. It was a wonderful, joyful time for to be a young child. There was no adult supervision. So you could kind of do anything you wanted, like scar a child and shave an H into his stomach with a switchblade. You could get into rock fights. You could shoot a cat.
The good old days.
It also allows a giant clown to terrorize you. This is it. Now, when I say this is a more miserable movie, I mean, compared to Jaws, this, like, just the story overall, it's a lot
Yeah.
more dour. It's a lot more depressing.
I mean, hey, kids die in both movies.
True.
I got you
I,
there.
my general impressions, did I think it was a bad movie? No, it's well made. Do I think it has a lot of issues? And I think a lot of it just stems from, like, the source material. Yes, I think it has a lot of issues and a very unbalanced story, and they did the best they could. I think personally, like I think I think it's well executed. I just think I think like that it's just so all over the place, like infamously and allegedly. So he doesn't sue us. Stephen King was on a whole lot of cocaine when he was writing this
Yeah.
book, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the screenplay. Like the story feels a little disoriented, but I think like some of the higher horror parts, like the parts where Pennywise gets to shine, like I think it really comes through, and that's like the strength of this movie.
Yeah, literally, the movie's just like building up to the next Pennywise experience. This novel was written in 1986, was when it released. It was like the top-selling fiction novel of all of the year, and this was during King's heavy use of coke from 1978 to 1986. He used so much drugs and alcohol, he barely remembered writing Cujo during this period. So I wish that my blackouts would experience something like that. A major hit.
That was the period too where he had to take like a pseudonym because he was writing so much that he was coming out with like 4 books a year, and his publisher was just like, Steven, you're going to flood the market. I can't remember what his pseudonym was, but I remember
Richard Bachman. Yeah.
Richard Bachman. Shout out Joel Edminster, the Stephen King expert at our high school.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, Richard Bachman is Stephen King, and it's because Stephen King was so drugged up and he was just writing so much that they literally didn't he had to have a pseudonym to match what he was writing because it was too much supply.
Do you think it's possible that there's like other pseudonyms out there that like no one's ever discovered, and just like there's just like other like 10 other novels or something like that from that period?
No, because I think Stephen King books kind of have a very distinct writing pattern. I've read
Yeah.
like probably 5 or 6 of them in high school, and they're usually like coming of age
Mhm.
stories set in New England with like a freaky element. And then there's the Shawshank Redemption and the Green Mile
A little
that are
different.
that are a little I know his later stuff kind of turns different, but his stuff from like the 70s and the 80s is all this like horror filled, like youthful adventure kind of stories. I
Yeah.
remember Carrie, right? Like that's another one that's
Carrie and Christine are kind of similar, take place in high school and stuff. Richard Bachman, his alias at the time, before it was discovered that was Stephen King, some reviewers would be like, this guy is very reminiscent of one Stephen King. So
yeah, I can imagine he doesn't remember writing most of this because the story is very like detached. I think is a good way, or like I think the motivation is almost not there for the circumstances that these kids are going through. And it's not like they're going to adults, to the cops, being like, please, please, you have to believe us. There's this crazy clown, and they're like, ah, you kids, why are you smoking dope? Stop smoking dope, kids.
yeah.
That scene doesn't take place where they try to get, somebody with like authority or somebody to believe them. They're just like Richie's brother Georgie dies Bill's brother Georgie dies in the beginning of the movie. He gets taken by Pennywise under the sewer. I actually have a little clip from that because I think it sets the tone of Pennywise and like how menacing and creepy he truly is.
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice boat. Do you want it back? Yes, please.
You look like a nice boy. I bet you have a lot of friends.
3. My brother's my bestest.
Where's he?
In bed, sick.
I bet I could cheer him up. I'll give him a balloon. Do you want a balloon too, Georgie?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers.
Oh, well, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown. Pennywise? Yes, meet Georgie. Georgie, meet Pennywise. Now we aren't strangers, are we?
What are you doing in the sewer?
Oh, the storm blew me away. Blew the whole circus away.
Timmy, I have one question for you. Would there be anything that Pennywise could get you to get down the drain right there?
No,
Nothing?
not a single thing.
I think that if he said like, hey, like the Mets are down here and like they just won the World Series, Timmy, and like come on, like you got to come down and like celebrate the World Series with your favorite team. You give it a second. If it was like 5-year-old Timmy, he'd probably be like, "Oh, really? Are they down here? They're gonna win the World Series?"
Oh, 5-year-old me, yeah. I mean, Tommy, you would probably go down there for like I have a Big Mac down here for you, Tommy.
I'm like, "Oh, fuck yeah, let's go." He's like,
it has been 2 hours since my last meal.
"Oh, I guess I gotta go down there now." Like, "Oh, fuck, thank you, Pennywise." He'd just be like, "Oh, you have an N64 down there, and we could play GoldenEye, Tommy." I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's go."
I got 50 chicken McNuggets down there for you, Tommy.
Oh,
whoa!
Bill Skarsgård, who's playing Pennywise right here. It's just the voice right there is amazing. My impression earlier was terrible. It was more Roger Rabbit than Pennywise, but he just has that little menace to him right there, where he seems kind of almost charming, where he's luring in the kid right there. But there's just a little bit of just like undercurrent of just creepiness and unsettledness. It's a really fine line, and I think he does a great job with it.
Yeah, I would say he's like the standout performance. It's definitely a tricky role to play because you do need to find a way to somewhat convey any charm whatsoever, like some kind of charm that can actually allure people to him. But he is also very terrifying too. Like you can hear it in the way his voice is. I mean, he's also in a sewer, which is typically a sign of not good things. I would say if you're listening and if you ever hear a voice in a sewer, don't go down there. Don't
Just
go
run
over
away.
there. Just run away. Don't be a hero.
I think that Skarsgård like really plays like the thin line between it. Will Poulter was apparently originally cast back when Cary Fukunaga was going to direct this, and then scheduling conflicts arise, so he ended up getting casted as between him and like Hugo Weaving, and Hugo Weaving really couldn't play the charming side of it. He could only play the menacing side of it. So, and you can see like why you really need that, because like Pennywise from the beginning was just scary old menacing Pennywise, and like you couldn't believe the character of Georgie going down the drain or something.
I couldn't see Hugo Weaving pulling this off. Honestly, sometimes you need somebody that's not a huge name for these kind of roles, where it's like you need the character to shine through and not the actor to shine through, right? You need to let the character completely take a hold of you, and Skarsgård definitely does that.
Yeah.
And Cary Fukunaga he directed True Detective season 1. He directed every single episode. Did you ever see True Detective season 1?
I've seen a couple episodes, but not all the way through. But yeah,
wait, you didn't finish it?
I don't know. I watched like an episode or two, and then I kind of got like, there's so much other shit that was out there that I kind of got distracted. So, yeah. Well, he originally. So what happened was originally with this movie, we're just gonna skirt past that right there. This adaptation started in 2009. Warner Brothers wanted to make an R-rated movie of it, and they wanted to focus on the first half of the novel, which is more based on the kids. And David, I'm going to butcher his name, but Kajina, he wrote The Invasion in the remake of Suspiria. He was hired to write the screenplay, and then in 2012, Cary Fukunaga took over. He also did No Time to Die, and he was going to be the director. Then he dropped out in 2015 as director. It was first reported because of budget costs, but he actually said it was because trying to make an unconventional horror film. It didn't fit into the algorithm what they could spend and make money back of, based on not offending their standard genre audience. So he really had like a, I guess, more unconventional take on it, but I don't know if that would have worked. More David Lynch-y. That would have been weird.
Yeah, that probably would have worked better for me. Well, and I think part of it is because Stephen King is so protective of his work and he wants very literal adaptations after The Shining, like which he hates, which is considered like maybe the greatest piece of horror filmmaking of all time. And of
Mhm.
course, the guy who wrote the book is like, well, it's not accurate enough, so it's not
Yeah.
good. Where this is one that you could probably benefit from like a second pair of eyes and reworking and reorganizing things. Like I'm sure he understands why the gangbang scene was cut.
Yeah.
He's probably understands why that's not for conventional audiences. You know,
That was probably the Coke bender. That was right
most
there in Coke.
most people don't want to watch an orgy with 14-year-olds.
Yeah. So very thankfully that was cut. There's some things in the novel. I mean, they kept more of the spirit of it. The miniseries, which I watched recently, they pretty much were like slaves to the material, and the material. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, you don't need to go through like all the characters and everything like that. And instead of that, this one, the characters' fears are based on like, random like kid things, or like the leper or something more scary. In the novel and in the miniseries, it's like the Wolfman and Dracula and like the Mummy or something like that, and it kind of makes it more of a hokey, kind of lame feel to it.
And those like creatures maybe play better in the to an 80s audience or written in the 80s for an audience of people that maybe watched these movies as kids in the 50s and 60s, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like the Mummy isn't and the Wolfman aren't scary to kids anymore.
Mhm.
So just like from an audience perspective as an adult in their 20s, they're not going to believe that these kids are scared of the Mummy from the movie The Mummy.
Yeah, exactly. This movie, I think it was a smart idea to move it up to the 80s, make it a little more modern in terms of like nostalgic lenses. There's a lot of posters of Freddy Krueger, of one of the Freddy Krueger movies in this movie. And there was originally an idea of having Freddy Krueger being one of the forms that Pennywise takes as like one of the kids' fears. And, as much as I love Freddy Krueger, that would have been like the hokey, hacky version of this movie where would have been like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and like fucking Chucky come to attack the kids based as Pennywise. It would have been like the Space Jam New Legacy version of this.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that's like a good call on the cut. What did you think of like the kids' performances? I thought the girl that played Beverly was very good. I thought she was probably the best kid actor, and I thought the kid who played Bill was also very good because having to go through that stammer is pretty difficult. Who is
Mhm.
it? Jaden Martell and Sophia Lillis. I thought they both did a very good job. Finn Wolfhard was in the movie too. I thought his performance was like not good.
Oh, really? I was about to say that I loved his performance in this movie. It felt like a natural, like little shit kid that's just like runs his mouth too much.
I thought it was better as that became more filtered towards the end, but I
Mhm.
just felt like it was like too jarring and like the little ant like they're kind of like one dimensional characters at the beginning. Like you have the one over anxious kid who's what is that? That's
That's
Eddie.
Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah, he who's just like talking about like random statistics and stuff like that. You have Richie Finn Wolfhard who's just like cursing and yelling like he's the kid that curses, right? I thought their chemistry came together much more after the first attack in the house and they kind of like separate for a little bit and they go their separate ways and when they come back after Beverly goes missing, I thought their chemistry all vibed really well together. But I thought like in the opening scene, like in the opening scenes, I didn't think their chemistry it felt like a lot of ADR. It felt like this is what we picture kids in the 80s to sound and talk like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt very believable to me like throughout the film. I mean, I thought that the kids like had a natural rapport. I mean, there could be a way where I could have been a lot more just terrible kid actors. You have a cast of like your
Oh
seven
yeah,
leads are
it wasn't bad kid acting by any
yeah.
means. But I think it's hard with someone like Finn Wolfhard because like he, especially that first season of Stranger Things, he really carries it out in an acting performance.
Mhm.
So like I probably just hold him to a higher esteem.
Well, I think that Richie's a lot different character than the character
Yeah.
plays in Stranger Things.
No, and that's not a bad thing, but I think
Mhm.
I I felt, and maybe it's just like we needed a little, either a little more in, like he's the one kid we don't really get a cutaway to them individually being haunted by Pennywise on his own. It's only with other people in there. Like you rarely see him just alone. He's not really just doing his own thing.
There's the one scene when again to the house where you see like his fear of clowns, but there is a point with like the editing of this movie, and it's kind of true to the novel in that sense, where this is almost like a theme park thing where we go from set piece to set piece to set piece of like the different kids exploring their fears. And for me, it definitely worked, I think. But it was definitely, you could tell, like a very fast pace right there. Where's let's go, 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 go. How did it work for you?
I thought the pacing was good, and like I understand that cut. It's more of just like you would have wanted to get his fear of clowns like on his own. I think that's maybe the one scene that was missing from
Mm,
the entire thing. And because just everybody like Mike Hanlon, who plays Chosen, the kid who's the homeschooled kid, like
mm.
he just joins the group later. He's like the add-on. So like we even get a scene of him alone with his own fears, like encountering Pennywise, seeing a vision. But like one of the kids in the core four kids before they add every the other three on, we don't get that unless it's like in the set piece. You know, he
Mm.
doesn't get his own set piece.
Yeah, he gets. Yeah, well, I get you're right in that sense that. But I don't know. Overall, I mean, kid actors I think were great in this. When comparing this to the miniseries, the kid actors were just like awful. I mean, like there's Seth Green in there, and Seth Green is still bad in that, and it's just like not believable whatsoever. It's just the acting is just, ugh.
Do you
I
think
don't know.
Seth Green's a good actor?
I think he's funny in roles, but I mean, he has like a kind of a lane that he stays in. I don't think he's a traditionally great actor.
No, yeah, it's like you got to cast him as like the guy that's kind of a douchebag and you're not sure where he got it from.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the kid that's way too confident than he should be.
Or when he just plays himself in Entourage.
Yeah, that too.
Yo, E, tell Sloan I said what's up. Just tell her I said what's up, man. That's all I want to say. That's Seth Green's like I didn't realize he was in the It TV adaptation.
That was like when he was a little kid. He played the young Richie, actually. So the young character that Finn Wolfhard played.
So how does Bill Skarsgård compare to Tim Curry? Because Tim Curry seems like bread and butter for Pennywise.
Kind of prefer Bill Skarsgård, to be honest. That might be sacrilegious to say that, but Skarsgård has more of like a menacing feel to him, whereas Tim Curry, I mean, he's great in the role, don't get me wrong, but he kind of feels like more of like a chain smoker that's just like kind of just like an antic, like telling random corny jokes. Like there's one scene where he tells the adult Richie, like, "Oh, do you have Prince Albert in a can? Well, yeah, better let him out," and shit like that. That's how he goes. Where Bill Skarsgård like actually feels a little more menacing while he still has a little bit of charm to him. So I think it's more of just like a campy take on it.
So it's like it feels like Ronald McDonald if he was a horror clown in the Tim Curry version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's where it's a lot more campy, a little more like over the top, but it works.
I haven't seen the Tim Curry one. I'm probably never gonna watch it. Maybe I'll watch like a clip of him on YouTube, like
Yeah,
some highlights just to get a feel for it.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to watch that. So you prefer it part one and part two over the miniseries?
Yeah, I'd say the overall production value and overall just like acting caliber. I mean, it's kind of almost like comparing apples to oranges because the Tim Curry version was a TV movie with a limited budget, and this is like it had 30 million budget, I believe. So in that sense, I mean, I think it's the perfect type of movie or book that you should do like a remake of. Where like the first adaptation was not exactly all the way there, and there's a cool concept in there that could work into something better. But instead of like remaking a classic, this is just let's remake something that could use a touch up.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting, and I guess we were talking about it before we started recording, because I was
Mhm.
like, man, all the adults in this are just terrible. And you're like, well, I think that's like Pennywise's presence. It makes them like distance and turn into like the worst versions of themselves. Because all of the adults in this are like, except for maybe Bill's dad, who's just like who you see one time, who's like, "Your brother's dead. Now put that away before it upsets your mother." Everybody else is cruel. Like it's very much implied that Beverly's dad molests her,
Mhm.
and the bully Henry's dad like shoots a gun at his feet.
And then like it's like the pharmacist in town like hitting on Beverly, even though she's like a 12-year-old girl.
I actually have that clip pulled up here because I thought that was like the first true interaction of Beverly with the gang, and I thought it was like a fun little like, oh, I'm gonna protect you guys so you can get these medical supplies out here to take care of Ben.
You okay?
I'm fine. What's wrong with you?
None of your business.
There's a kid outside. Looked like someone killed him.
We need some supplies, but we don't have enough money.
I like your glasses, Mr. Keene. You look just like Clark Kent.
I don't know about that.
Can I try them?
Sure.
What do you think?
Well, how about that? You look just like Lois Lane.
Really? Well, here you go.
Yeah, that was her distracting the pharmacist as the boys snuck out with some medical supplies, your classic 80s tomfoolery, if you will.
So I think this is where the movie really takes off in terms of like building the chemistry of the characters, even past the first scene right there. Like you see a little humor and interaction and interplay between the characters and seeing like their different personalities right there. And I think if this movie like didn't work at all, then the characters like you wouldn't like the kids at all. You know.
I guess I would agree with you. Maybe it just took me out a little bit in the first like 15, 20 minutes because it just felt very like forced, but like what's his name? Eddie, he has the mom that's super overprotective, and it turns out like all this medication that he's on and stuff are all just these placebo pills, and it's just another method of control that the mother has over him.
Mhm.
Right? We find that out later. I think it's very creepy in that sense. And Henry Bowers, who played by Nicholas Hamilton, who's the bully, he is the cruelest 80s bully I've ever seen in a movie. Like he is so over the top.
If there's one thing that Stephen King knows how to do, it's how to fucking write a goddamn bully. Like the fact that Henry like takes one of the kids and like started to carve his like names into the kid's stomach.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to carve my entire name into you." And even one of the kids is like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, I do like that we see that like the rest of his gang is kind of just like, yeah, like well, you're going a little too far with this right here. But like even in the scene where he grabs the cat and he's just like, shoot the goddamn cat.
His friends and he's like, "Hold it," and the friend's like, "Dude," like you see him start shaking.
Mhm. If there's one thing that that one criticism of the movie is that like with Henry Bowers, once he gets possessed by Pennywise, essentially, or like Pennywise tells him to kill other people, his friends completely disappear. I feel like we missed the scene of like in the novel the characters die obviously, and I'm assuming in the movie the same thing happens. We could have seen, just added a little more, just like one more kill or something like that would be.
Add a little tension into it. Yeah, because you saw him get
Mhm.
possessed. We see him kill his dad, and
Mhm.
Pennywise is on the TV. Like I thought though, like that was like really the cleverness of the movie is when it's Pennywise possessing somebody, and it's like he's just taking over this TV show.
Mhm.
Like I thought that was probably the most clever kill because you're like you don't know if he's just going to give the switchblade back to his dad or if he's going to kill him.
Mhm.
But I guess wanting to kill a cat, wanting to kill an animal is typically the sign of a serial killer. Like those are very early signs
Yeah.
of serial killers, and he has no
he
remorse in the movie.
it was probably like a light push at best for him, where it was just like, all right, like Pennywise didn't need to do too much goading right there for Henry Bowers. I mean, the fact that before he was carved his fucking name.
Well, his death was vicious. He falls down the well. Mike pushes him down the well, and then there's just no fallout of that at all. This kid going missing.
Well, spoiler alert, he's alive in the second one. So he comes back up at like 30 years later or something like that, and he's in a mental hospital.
Wait, he comes out of that well.
Well, you don't see him coming out of the well, but I think the movie just opens up 30 years later. Like, yeah, he's just in a mental hospital.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're really pushing It Part 2 down my throat.
I'm really selling It Part 2. It Part 2 is definitely like not considered as well received, but I don't know, they nail at least the adult casting where, like, Jessica Chastain plays the adult Beverly, Bill Hader plays the adult Richie. So in those aspects, it works.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I guess the more I see of it, like when you said you mentioned the box office numbers, like this is almost like that extension of Stranger Things that like it filled that market at the right time. Like, do you think this does as well if it comes out a year later? Like, I'm not saying it would do bad, but if they did part 1, part 2, 2018, 2019 release?
I think that Stranger Things at least was still a phenomenon. I don't think season 3 was kind of like the down season for Stranger Things, but season 2 was still at the highest popularity.
Popularity wise, I would say quality wise, season 2 was definitely its lowest. But
yeah, I think the popularity is still there. Season 2,
for sure.
But I think that it was just like came at the right time, and this honestly led to a Stephen King renaissance where we saw new versions of like Pet Cemetery, of Firestarter, and like and this also was the third Stephen King movie released this year, and I think this might have been the best one, or at least the second best, because they came out with The Dark Tower, which apparently is dog shit, Gerald's Game, which is a really great one, and then It obviously is the one that everyone's going to remember.
Yeah, that's the Matthew McConaughey, Idris Elba, Dark Tower.
Yeah. Apparently, it's like a god awful and just a terrible adaptation.
Wasn't it supposed to be like 2 or 3 parts, and the first part did so bad they were just like, we're gonna pull the plug on this.
Yeah, well, The Dark Tower, I'm pretty sure is like a 30-part book or something like that. Where
it's like 6 parts, but it's like if you put the whole thing together, it's like 3,000 pages or something like that.
I think even more than that. I think you're underselling it a little, but it's just apparently just they did not do a good job there.
Yeah, I think this one is right to be remembered. It feels like it still has a place in pop culture. I think Pennywise is just really like an iconic character. I think he's somebody that audiences kind of gravitate to because he is just so creepy. And I think the way they like blended the effects, like the effects looked great in this. They did, like the special effects. I had some issues with the lightings where it got too dark, which is just an issue I have with most modern things where it's like you can have a flickering light above so I could see what's going on. It's okay. You don't have to shroud this in darkness. I get it. He's in darkness, but I would like to see what's actually happening on the screen.
I hear you there. Where I mean, in terms of horror, you kind of need that sometimes with like darker lighting, and I think in the cinema it definitely felt a little better. But like if you're watching on your TV, it can be just too much. This is not a movie you watch on like a sunny day.
No, you watch this on a rainy day, like with the lights off.
Yeah.
to get spooked. Like, what's the scariest part of the movie to you?
I think that there's like one thing that you notice a little bit more on rewatches. The one scene where it's Ben in the library. This movie I think has a great sense of depth, really, where it just really shows just like things going on in the background a lot. And like so Ben's in the library in that one scene and he's reading like the book about Pennywise and like finding out about the history of Derry. And you can notice in the corner that there's like the librarian who is a complete dick to him for no reason. She is in the corner and very clearly is Pennywise. It's a little bit out of focus, but you can see her just like staring at him, just like, and her mouth seems a little bit unnatural, and that just fucks with me.
Like there wasn't really any jump scares for me in this one, which I think works in its favor, and it doesn't try to do it. It does it like twice, really. It doesn't really try to do it too often. I thought like the spookiest part was I thought like the bathroom scene with the blood coming down, like when Beverly's in the bathroom and then the dad walks in, he's like, there's no blood on the wall. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was pretty freaky. Like, just like those kind of like mind fucks where the adults are not going to be able to see these things.
I think that's like a great, like, just way to explain away, like, why these kids aren't going to the parents. Because immediately it's just like, oh, the parents can't see this. So you don't have to do like this stupid, like, doctor being like, Oh, you're clearly crazy. Like, what do you think talking about?
I think I would have liked that personally, but that's okay. And to each their own.
Yeah.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Tommy, who is the star of this movie?
I think there's only one answer here. I'm gonna have to go with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. He literally elevated this role. I mean, I think he bested Tim Curry, and Pennywise, like probably the second most famous cinematic clown after the Joker now.
Yeah, I would also go with Bill Skarsgård. I mean, the kids have great performances. I was a little down on Finn Wolfhard. Maybe I was just being too hard because I think he's great in Stranger Things. But I think like I thought Sophia Lillis, like I thought she was the best of the actors. I thought she brought like a lot of heart to the group. Like the one that seemed a little bit older than the rest of them, that felt like she could show them bravery in places that these group of so-called losers, self-called losers wouldn't be able to find it. So I thought she had a nice performance, but it's got to be Bill Skarsgård. I mean, Pennywise is like legitimately an iconic figure, and
Yeah,
following in Tim Curry's footsteps is not an easy thing to do. It's
no, not at
definitely a
all.
challenge. And I think from what you're saying, it's better than Tim Curry's and different enough to stand alone.
It's definitely. It's almost like kind of like the going from Jack Nicholson as the Joker from Heath Ledger as the Joker, where it's just like two iconic performances, but they are a little bit different. That they work differently. They can fit in different universes. I remember when this movie came out like 5 years ago. That Halloween, I remember there were so many people dressed up as Pennywise. That was like the go-to Halloween costume at the time.
And this came out in September, so that's like the perfect time for all that costume stuff to follow up too, because you're not waiting a couple of months to dole that one out. It's like, nope.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, would it 2017 work as a Muppet adaptation?
I feel like Pennywise as a Muppet would work fucking really well.
So would Pennywise be the only Muppet?
Would that be the inverse of it, where it's just like instead of just like it being like Bill Skarsgård, it's just like really a weird Muppet thing?
Yeah, it would have to be like a Pennywise Muppet creation, but I would like to see it because I think it would turn it from like a horror movie to like a comedic farce, and it would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would just be amazing where he's just like fucking flailing his arms all around like Kermit and stuff like that. Who would be Pennywise? Would it be Kermit? Would it be Gonzo or Fozzie?
I think it would be Fozzie, right?
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
have to be Fozzie.
Waka
Ah,
waka, Georgie, I have your boat. They want to float?
ah, come down here, Georgie. You want to play? Yeah, you know, we push for a lot of Muppet adaptations on this podcast. I can understand why Disney would be like, no.
No child killing Muppets. Don't have Fozzie maul someone.
I think Jim Henson would probably be a little upset with that too.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, review time. What's your score?
So yeah, this is probably like my third or fourth time watching this movie. I saw it in theaters like opening weekend from what I remember. I think it's a really fun adaptation. They did the best they could do with the novel, with because the novel is 1,000 pages, over 1,000 pages. So there's a lot to cram in there, and I think this movie really just got me more into Stephen King right here, and I think it's a just great performance by Bill Skarsgård. I just wish some of the other characters had a little more room to breathe, so I'm gonna go up a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Skarsgård, as we mentioned, star of the show. The kids are really good, which helps a lot. If it was bad child acting, this movie would be a total slog and probably one you wouldn't be able to get through. I think it suffers from following the the novel as closely as it does because it just jumps around and it has a manic energy to it, which works in Pennywise's favor, but in terms of like an audience viewing it, it feels incoherent and it feels like the motivations aren't fleshed out enough for them to be going down this crazy journey into a creepy house, into a well. It all feels like it could have been tighter, but I understand Stephen King's very protective of his work and he's not going to let that happen, which is fine. I think the set designs were really cool. I thought like the set pieces were really cool. I think it doesn't do too much traditional horror like jump scares. Like it doesn't overload you with that, and it's a little bit more like the psychological terror that comes from Pennywise. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. I think it's a good adaptation of a classic horror novel. I It's not personally like my kind of cup of tea, but 3 out of 5. Like if this is your jam, you're gonna love it, and it's well made, it's well executed, it's well performed. I if you'll know if you like it or not. You either do or you don't, and you know by based on the trailer.
Yeah, that's fine.
So Tommy, any final thoughts?
I didn't realize this until we made our schedule, but Andy Muschietti is also directing the Flash movie, and we're also covering an Ezra Miller movie later this month. So we're going to get double dose of Ezra right there. And
Are we ever gonna get the Flash movie?
I mean, that might be canceled. I mean, that might be coming on the pipeline, but we'll save our thoughts for the full Ezra Miller episode. That's the perks of being a wallflower. That's coming later this month. But next week we have Karate Kid coming up, and thank you guys for listening. Follow us on social media at Seen It Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Really helps us out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week.